I'm Dana Sullivan, 34 years old, a bank employee. For years, I've been the one quietly covering everything for my family: Spotify, Hulu, credit card bills, even their groceries. I always thought Christmas this year would finally be simple, no pressure, just family. But when my dad said we all agreed not to buy gifts this year, I believed him. I nodded, clutching my coffee mug, certain we were on the same page. Then Leah, my sister, swept in grinning as she tore open a glittering box. Inside was a brand new iPhone, then a $5,000 designer handbag, and finally a dazzling jewelry set. My mom smirked. "Dana, you're overreacting." Leah just laughed, snapping selfies with her treasures. My parents clapped proudly as if she'd just won an Oscar. My chest tightened. After years of paying for their subscriptions, their emergencies, their endless expenses, was this my reward? A slap in the face, wrapped in shiny paper. I didn't argue. I didn't cry. I simply grabbed my coat, walked out into the freezing night, and drove home. That evening, I logged into every account, every credit card, every payment under my name, and hit cancel. Done. By morning, my phone flashed with 29 missed calls, messages pouring in accusing me of being selfish. And then, at 7 a.m., 2 police officers appeared at my door. I froze, my heart pounding, knowing this was only the beginning. What would you do if this happened to you? Walk away in silence or confront your family? Leave your thoughts in the comments below. Some Christmas parties aren't really about the gifts at all, but a mirror reflecting family bonds. And that night, I finally saw where I truly stood. The room sparkled with fake snow on the tree. I stood near the snack table, gripping a tray of homemade sugar cookies, their edges uneven from my late-night baking. Hours in the kitchen, flour on my apron, all for a moment of connection. But Leah owned the spotlight. She held up a gleaming iPhone, tilting it for an Instagram shot, her voice sharp with confidence. "This is going viral," she said, grinning wide. Then she tore into a $5,000 designer handbag, waving it like a trophy. Mom clapped, her face lit with pride. "That's my Leah," she said, not sparing a glance at my tray. Dad sipped his coffee, nodding. "She's got that spark," he muttered. My chest tightened, but I forced a smile, hoping someone would notice the cookies I'd made from scratch. Nobody did. Leah moved to a jewelry set, diamonds catching the light as she draped it over her wrist. "Sponsored content pays off," she bragged, already filming a reel. Mom laughed, nudging Dad. "She's unstoppable." I set the tray down, hands trembling. For years, I'd paid their streaming accounts, phone bills, even random Amazon orders, thousands of dollars to keep them comfortable. And yet, here I was invisible. Leah's laugh cut through again, loud and careless, as she scrolled through her phone, racking up likes. Mom and Dad kept praising her, their voices a chorus of favoritism. I wasn't jealous of her gifts. I was exhausted from being overlooked. Every bill I paid, every late-night call I answered, and this was my reward. Nothing. I'd spent years being the dependable one, the one who never said no. Mom once called it my duty to help, but it felt like a chain. Leah, the influencer, thrived on attention, her Instagram polished to perfection. She'd built a brand on borrowed money, my money. Last month, she'd ordered a new camera lens through my credit card, claiming it was for work. Mom and Dad didn't blink, just praised her hustle. I'd bitten my tongue then, but tonight was different. I watched Leah pose with her handbag, her smile smug, and something snapped. I wasn't here to fund her spotlight. I wasn't here to be their afterthought. I glanced at the tray of cookies, now cold, untouched. Mom leaned over to Leah, whispering something that made them both laugh. Dad raised his mug, toasting Leah's success. My throat burned, not with tears, but with clarity. I'd been their bank, their safety net, for too long. I thought of the hours I'd spent balancing their accounts while they fawned over Leah's posts. I thought of the times I'd skip my own plans to cover their emergencies. Enough. I grabbed my purse, the weight of their disregard heavy on my shoulders. Leah's voice followed me, still chattering about her followers. Mom called out, "Dana, where you going?" but her tone was more annoyed than concerned. Dad didn't even look up. I didn't answer. My boots clicked on the hardwood as I walked to the door. The cold air outside hit me like a wake-up call, sharp and unforgiving. I didn't need their approval. I didn't need their thanks. I was done playing their game, done being the one who paid for their comfort while they cheered for Leah. My car keys jingled in my hand as I stepped into the night. The betrayal burned, but it fueled me. I wasn't just leaving the party, I was leaving their expectations behind. This wasn't about cookies or gifts. It was about me finally choosing myself. Driving home from that Christmas party, my mind rewound to years of bank statements, each one a reminder of how much I carried for them. I'd been paying for their Spotify Premium for 3 years, ever since Leah complained she needed high-quality audio for her workout playlists. Never mind that I was the one covering the $15.99 monthly fee for the family plan. She'd added her own devices, racking up streams while I got stuck with the bill. Hulu was another story. I set it up for Mom and Dad so they could watch their old sitcoms, but Leah hijacked it for her content creation. She'd stream beauty tutorials, filming herself testing products she never paid for, all on my dime. The credit card was the worst. I'd added them as authorized users years ago, thinking it was just for emergencies. But Corey, Leah's husband, used it like his personal piggy bank. Last spring, he bought a $2,000 leather jacket, claiming it was for a business meeting. Leah charged a $1,500 camera lens for her Instagram videos, saying it was essential for her brand. I'd see the charges pop up on my app, my stomach sinking each time. When I asked about it, Mom would shrug. It's family responsibility, she'd say, her voice sharp, like I was the one being unreasonable. Dad would nod, adding, "We all pitch in, Dana." Except they never did. I'd tried setting boundaries before. 2 summers ago, I suggested splitting the Spotify bill. Leah laughed it off, saying, "You're the numbers person, Dana. You handle it." Mom backed her up, calling me selfish for even bringing it up. "Family helps family," she said, her tone final. I backed down, feeling guilty, like I'd betrayed them by asking for fairness. Another time, I mentioned the credit card charges to Dad. He waved it away, saying, "Leah's building her career. You've got a stable job." As if my work didn't matter. As if my sacrifices were expected. I'd spent countless nights balancing their accounts, skipping my own plans to cover their urgent needs. Like the time Leah called me at midnight begging for $500 to fix her car so she could get to a photo shoot. I sent it, even though I was saving for a new laptop. Or when Corey's emergency vet bill for their dog turned out to be a $700 grooming package. I paid, they thanked me with a quick text, and that was it. No one ever asked how I was managing. No one offered to chip in. Mom once told me, "You're so good with money, Dana. It's your gift." But it felt like a curse. Leah's Instagram followers grew, her videos polished with equipment I funded. Corey strutted around in designer clothes while I drove a 10-year-old car. Mom and Dad bragged about Leah's success at every family gathering, never mentioning the hours I spent keeping their lives running. I'd tried talking to them again last fall, suggesting we close the shared credit card. Leah rolled her eyes, saying, "Don't make this a big deal." Mom got teary, accusing me of pulling away from the family. Dad just stared at his coffee, muttering, "Let's not fight." I gave in again, hating myself for it. But that night, driving home, their voices echoed in my head. Mom's family responsibility, Dad's. We all pitch in. Leah's careless laugh. I gripped the steering wheel, my knuckles white. I wasn't just paying their bills. I was paying for their approval, their attention, and I was getting nothing back. Every dollar I spent on them was a piece of myself I'd lost. I'd been their safety net for too long, and they'd taken it for granted. My phone sat silent in the passenger seat, but I knew it wouldn't stay that way. They'd notice soon enough, and they wouldn't like it. But I wasn't the same Dana who backed down. Not anymore. By 10 p.m., my phone was buzzing nonstop. I sat on my couch, laptop open, fingers flying across the keyboard. First, Spotify. I logged in, my account still showing Leah's endless playlists and Mom and Dad's oldies. I changed the password, locked them out, and deleted the family plan. Done. Next, Hulu. Their profiles? Leah's for her content. Mom and Dad's for their sitcom marathons stared back at me. I reset the password, removed their access, and saved the changes. Finally, the credit card. I'd added them years ago thinking it was temporary. Now Corey's luxury purchases and Leah's work expenses flashed in my mind. I called the bank, removed them as authorized users, and froze the card. My hands shook, but I felt lighter with every click. This wasn't revenge. It was survival. My phone lit up again. Leah's name on the screen. Her first text read, "Are you serious? You locked me out of Spotify." Then another, "You're ruining my workflow." I scrolled through her messages, each one angrier. "You're such a Grinch, Dana." Happy now. She didn't stop there. By 10:30, she'd posted on Instagram a photo of her new iPhone with a caption, "Some people can't handle joy. Guess who's trying to ruin Christmas?" I stared at the post, her words twisting the knife. She'd painted me as the villain, and her followers were eating it up, flooding the comments with support. Mom's text came next. "You're embarrassing us. Fix this now." Her words stung, but they weren't new. I'd heard them every time I tried to stand up for myself. Dad's message followed, blunt and demanding. "Put the accounts back. We need them." I set the phone down, my heart racing. They weren't asking, they were ordering, like I was their employee, not their daughter. Then Corey called. I let it go to voicemail, but he left a message, his voice dripping with disdain. "Real childish Dana. Cutting us off like that, grow up." I didn't call back. His words echoed Leah's mom's, dad's, all the same tune, blaming me for their problems. I leaned back, staring at the ceiling. For years, I'd been their safety net, their ATM, and they thought it was my job to keep it that way. Not anymore. I opened my laptop again, double-checking every account. Spotify was now just mine, with my playlists, my choices. Hulu showed only my profile, no trace of their shows. The credit card was clean, no more surprise charges. My phone kept buzzing, Leah's texts piling up, now accusing me of sabotaging her career. She'd posted another story, a selfie with her handbag captioned, "Some people just want to tear you down." I didn't respond. I didn't need to. Their anger was loud, but it only proved I'd hit a nerve. They weren't mad because I was wrong. They were mad because I'd stopped playing their game. Mom sent another text. "This isn't how we raised you." I almost laughed. Raised me. They'd raised me to say yes, to pay up, to stay quiet. Dad called twice, leaving a voicemail. "Dana, we're a family. Fix the accounts." I deleted it without listening to the rest. Corey texted next, a single line, "You'll regret this." I blocked his number. My inbox was a war zone. Leah's rants, Mom's guilt trips, Dad's demands. But I felt calm for the first time in years. I wasn't arguing or begging for their understanding. I was done explaining myself. Every account I'd closed was a brick in the wall. I was building a boundary they couldn't cross. They could scream, post, call me, whatever they wanted. I wasn't their bank anymore. I wasn't their doormat. I turned off my phone, the silence a relief. This was my line in the sand, and I wasn't stepping back. The next morning, my doorbell jolted me awake. I stumbled out of bed, heart pounding, and opened the door to find Mom and Dad standing there, faces red with anger. "You're being selfish, Dana," Mom snapped, her voice sharp enough to cut glass. "You think you can just cut us off like that?" Dad crossed his arms, glaring. "Restore those accounts right now. We're a family, not a business." I stood frozen, my bare feet cold against the floor. Their words hit hard, but I wasn't surprised. They'd always expected me to fix their problems. Before I could respond, a police car pulled up, its lights flashing. 2 officers stepped out, their badges glinting. "We got a call about a family dispute." One said, his tone calm but firm. Mom jumped in, pointing at me. "She's causing trouble, officer. She locked us out of our accounts." I took a deep breath, steadying myself. This was Carol, always quick to escalate, always making me the villain. My phone buzzed. Mandy, my friend, texting. I'm on my way. She arrived minutes later, her car screeching into the driveway. Mandy didn't hesitate, stepping between me and my parents. Dana's got this, she said, her voice steady, giving me a nod. She pulled me aside, her eyes soft but serious. I've been here, she whispered. I cut my family off from my accounts last year. They called me every name in the book, but it gets better. You're not alone. Her words were a lifeline, pulling me back from the edge of doubt. I turned to the officers, my voice clear. These are my accounts. I pay for them. I set boundaries, and they're upset about it. The taller officer nodded, scribbling in his notebook. Sounds like a civil matter, he said. If the accounts are in your name, it's your call. Mom's face twisted, her voice rising. This is ridiculous. She's tearing our family apart. Dad chimed in, his tone colder. You're punishing us, Dana. Just put it back. I shook my head, standing taller. I'm not punishing anyone, I'm protecting myself. The officers exchanged a glance, then turned to Mom. Ma'am, if the accounts are hers, there's no crime here. They tipped their hats and walked back to their car, leaving Mom fuming. Mandy squeezed my arm, her presence grounding me. You did the right thing, she said quietly. They'll figure out how to survive without you. Mom and Dad didn't budge, still standing on my porch, throwing accusations. You've always been difficult? Mom said, her words laced with guilt. We don't deserve this, Dad added. You're making a mistake. We'll talk when you're ready to be reasonable. I didn't argue. I didn't explain. I just stood there, letting their words bounce off me. Mandy stayed close, her quiet strength, reminding me I wasn't alone. The officers drove away, their lights fading into the morning. Mom and Dad finally turned to leave, Mom muttering, You'll see how this feels. I closed the door, my heart still racing but my resolve stronger. I'd spent years carrying their weight, but no more. Mandy sat with me on the couch, not pushing, just there. When I cut my family off, she said they showed up at my job. But I held firm, and they eventually stopped. You're stronger than you think. I nodded, her words sinking in. This wasn't just about accounts. It was about reclaiming my life. Mom and Dad's voices still echoed in my head, but I wasn't backing down. I'd drawn my line, and I was standing by it. By noon, Leah's Instagram was pure chaos. Her latest story showed her pacing in her studio, ranting about a technical glitch ruining her shoot. I scrolled through her posts from my laptop, watching her followers flood the comments with questions. Where's the new video? One asked. Another, you okay, girl? She didn't mention me by name, but the subtext was clear. She'd lost a big skincare brand deal, one she'd bragged about for weeks. Without Spotify for her curated background music or Hulu for her product research, she couldn't deliver the polished video the brand expected. The deadline passed and the contract was gone. I didn't feel smug, just relieved. Meanwhile, Mom and Dad were floundering. I got a text from Mom, all caps, Hulu won't work. How do we fix this? I didn't reply. Later, Dad called, leaving a voicemail. We're trying to set up our own account, he said, his voice frustrated. It's asking for a credit card, and we don't know what to do. I listened, then deleted it. They'd relied on me to handle every subscription, every payment for years. Now, faced with a $12.99 monthly fee, they were lost. I imagined Mom fumbling with the sign-up page, Dad grumbling about complicated apps. It wasn't my problem anymore. My phone pinged again, this time Mandy. Hey, want some budgeting tips? Her text read. I track everything in a spreadsheet. Keeps me sane. She attached a screenshot of her monthly budget: rent, groceries, utilities, all neatly categorized. No family expenses, she added. Learned that the hard way. I smiled, grateful for her practical advice. Mandy wasn't here to hold my hand, she was showing me how to stay in control. I opened my banking app, checking my accounts. Spotify showed only my charges, $10.99 for my personal plan. Hulu was the same, just my profile, no extra users. The credit card balance was clean, no surprise charges from Leah's camera gear or Corey's luxury splurges. For the first time in years, every dollar was mine. I leaned back, the weight of their expectations gone. Leah's Instagram kept spiraling. Her followers noticed the missing video, and brands were pulling back. She posted a cryptic update. Some obstacles are out of my control. I didn't care about her excuses. She'd built her brand on my dime, and now she was facing the consequences. Mom sent another text. We can't afford this without you. I let it sit unanswered. Dad's next voicemail was sharper. You're making life harder for us. I didn't flinch. They'd never learned to manage without me, and I wasn't their crutch anymore. Mandy texted again, sharing a link to a budgeting app. This one's free, she wrote. Helps you see where your money's going. I downloaded it, entering my income and expenses. The numbers added up, no family subscriptions, no random charges. It was liberating. I thought about Leah scrambling to save her image, and Mom and Dad baffled by a simple sign-up process. They'd taken my support for granted, but I was done carrying them. My accounts were mine, my money was mine, and my peace was mine. I closed the app feeling steady. This wasn't about winning, it was about freedom. That afternoon, I sat down with my laptop. For the first time, I was crafting a future that belonged only to me. I opened a blank spreadsheet, my fingers steady as I typed out a personal budget. First, I allocated $200 for an online art course, something I'd dreamed of taking, to sketch landscapes without hesitation. Next, I set aside $500 for a weekend trip to the Oregon coast, imagining the salt air and quiet trails. Then I committed $300 a month to a savings account, a safety net for emergencies I'd never had before. I added a small line item, $50 for a new sketchbook and pencils, a nod to my rediscovered passion. Every entry felt like a step toward freedom, a deliberate choice to put myself first after years of funding their lives. My phone stayed silent, no texts or calls demanding my attention. The absence of their voices was a relief, like a weight lifted off my chest. Meanwhile, Mom and Dad were spiraling into chaos. A neighbor texted me, her message blunt. Your parents got a final notice from the electric company. They're panicking about a $150 overdue bill. I could see Mom sorting through papers, her frustration mounting at the bold red text, and Dad pacing, muttering about unfair fees. They'd never had to track utilities without me stepping in to pay or organize. I didn't reply to the neighbor. Their financial mess was no longer my responsibility. Across town, Leah's career was taking a bigger hit. I glanced at her Instagram, where her latest post was a shaky attempt at damage control, taking a step back to focus on authenticity. The comments were harsh. You've lost your spark, one follower wrote. Another, where's the quality content? I scrolled through industry blogs, spotting a post about her losing a long-term contract with a major makeup brand. Her recent videos, thrown together without the professional edge she'd built on my streaming accounts, failed to impress. The brand cited inconsistent delivery and moved on. Her reputation, once her currency, was crumbling fast. Corey wasn't faring any better. A mutual friend messaged me saying he'd been calling around asking for loans, $1,000 from one, $500 from another. Nobody's lending him a dime, the friend wrote. I pictured Corey, his designer shoes scuffed, his usual confidence faltering, as every call ended in rejection. He'd leaned on my credit card for too long, and now his charm couldn't cover the gap. I didn't feel pity, only clarity. I returned to my spreadsheet, adding a $30 monthly subscription for a meditation app to keep my stress in check. The numbers aligned perfectly. No family subscriptions, no surprise charges. I thought about Mom and Dad probably arguing over who forgot to pay the electric bill, their voices rising in a familiar blame game. I thought about Leah refreshing her phone, watching her follower count drop as brands distanced themselves, and Corey striking out with every desperate plea for cash. They were grappling with a reality I'd shielded them from for years. I saved my budget, naming the file My Future. This wasn't about their struggles. It was about my choices, my dreams, my life. I closed my laptop, the quiet of my apartment wrapping around me like a shield. A week later, my phone was finally quiet. I'd blocked Mom, Dad, Leah, and Corey on every platform: texts, calls, social media. The silence was a gift, a clean break from their demands. I didn't feel guilt, only peace. Christmas morning arrived, and for the first time I wasn't bracing for their chaos. I brewed coffee, sat by my window, and sketched in my new notebook, the one I'd bought with my own budget. The lines flowed freely, each stroke a reminder that I was living for myself. I didn't need their approval or their drama to define my holiday. I celebrated quietly, ordering takeout and watching a movie I'd chosen, not one they'd demanded on my Hulu account. My day was mine, simple and calm, exactly how I wanted it. Meanwhile, Leah's online empire was falling apart. I checked her Instagram one last time before unfollowing her. Her follower count had dropped by thousands, her posts buried under comments like, "What happened to your vibe?" and "Unsubscribing, you've changed." Brands were ghosting her, unwilling to bet on someone whose content had lost its shine. Without my streaming accounts to prop up her videos, her carefully curated image was fading fast. Mom and Dad, too, were facing their new reality. A friend from their church group messaged me saying they'd hired a local accountant to sort out their finances. "They're overwhelmed," she wrote. "Bills are piling up, and they're still figuring out how to budget." I could imagine Mom scribbling numbers on a notepad, frustrated, while Dad questioned every fee, insisting they didn't need help. They'd leaned on me for years, but now they had to face their own numbers. Corey's situation was just as grim. The same mutual friend told me he'd been job hunting, applying for retail and delivery gigs after his loan requests fell through. "He's not used to rejection," she added. I pictured Corey, his ego bruised, scanning job boards in a coffee shop, his usual swagger gone. He'd counted on my credit card to float their lifestyle, but that lifeline was cut. I didn't linger on their struggles. Instead, I reflected on what I'd learned. Self-respect meant refusing to sacrifice my well-being for a family that took me for granted. Setting boundaries wasn't selfish, it was survival. It protected my time, my money, and my sense of self. I'd spent years trying to please them, thinking it made me a good daughter, a good sister. But their demands only grew, draining me until I had nothing left to give. Now I valued my own worth, my own choices. I wasn't responsible for their mistakes or their consequences. My life was mine to shape, and I was done letting them pull the strings. To everyone who's followed this story, thanks for staying till the end. Share your thoughts below. Have you ever set boundaries with family